All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know a lot of us have just spent some time at Mega Camp and debriefing from Mega Camp and compiling all of our notes and trying to identify what actions we're going to take first. And I just want to show my appreciation to you for being here today. And of course, show my appreciation to Miss Pam Duncan for being here today. Pam has, we'll take a moment to give you her journey and her story. I'll just share a couple of words about Pam. Pam and I have known each other since I got here almost 10 years ago. She's one of the longtime Roswell Rockers.
Charter member.
Charter member. You know, there's I really want to hear today from you if you could share, you know, a little bit of course, about your professional background and how the opportunity to join KW came to you, and what's kept you here, right? A journey around how you've built your business, a journey around how you've overcome adversity is probably a gentle way of saying it. In your world, you know, we've been talking a decent amount actually about you know, the bumps that we all experience in our lives, and how to overcome them, and how to mourn and grief and move forward. So I'm sure that you'll have a few words to say about that. Pam and I've always admired Pam. She was always one of those agents that, like, you know, I came over having come from a company that didn't talk about systems and models too much. And, you know, while I did okay, but it wasn't because of the systems and models. It was because I was overworking myself. And I came in and I was just watching people be successful at Keller Williams. And I used to watch Pam and say, man, she just has it so put together. Like, she just doesn't seem stressed. She always seems, you know, happy to be doing what she's doing every day. We had the honor of serving many years together on the Agent Leadership Council, and you guys saw the impact that an Agent Leadership Council can make yesterday with the votes that took place. First time, by the way, that anything has ever been voted on unanimously in 38 years. So I thought that was really cool to see that happen twice in one day. Pam is just she's a leader in every direction you look. She has had several long-term team members, and as we all know, keeping people in your world and your organization for a long time is a feat upon itself. So I'd love for you to chat around how you've built what you've built, and also, of course, your commitment to coaching and your commitment to pop buys and building a referral-based business. I may be wrong here, but I think I told the group that you are you have not made many cold calls in your time. So, you know, oftentimes we hear agents say, hey, do we have to make cold calls? And I say, no, you don't have to, you don't have to do anything, right? However, if you're not hitting your goals, then you better figure out something else to do. And if that includes calling strangers, then so be it, right? But I think it takes a certain type of agent to say, hey, I'm going to build it a different way, and to be as successful as you have. So without further ado, I'm going to turn over the floor to you, Pam. You just kind of start by sharing your story. I'll chime in every once in a while and direct you, and then we'll have some time for the crew to ask questions. And I have you down until 1 o'clock. Is that still good for you?
It's fine with me. Yes.
Beautiful. So, y'all, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Bill. I don't think I can follow up Mega Camp and have much impact, but I'm going to contribute what I can and just let you know that it's a good life, and I truly believe that. I was licensed in 1987. I had gone to Georgia Tech, graduated, had a baby immediately, decided I wanted a job that I could work my own hours. I thought real estate would be it. Little did I know that that's not really the case at all, but it started me on my journey. I had worked previously at a savings and loan, so I did have a mortgage background, knew a little bit coming into it. But I worked for Northside Realty, which was a great company back in the day. It was actually very similar to Keller Williams and the culture there. So I had the opportunity to come to Keller Williams. And the way that I came to Keller Williams was actually through David Chatham, who was one of the owners of our market center when we opened it back in 2003. He's a bit of a mentor to me. His wife is a good friend. And I went to talk with him about some things I did not like in the company where I was working at that moment. It was a relocation company. So he suggested that I go downstairs and talk to Keller Williams and his history there. I did, came on board, was at Windward for 3 years. We incubated the Roswell office there, opened it up, moved to Roswell, and have never really felt any need to go any further because I'm happy where I am. We have a great office. We've always had a great office, and I'm very thrilled to have been a part of this all these years. So how I run my business is by referral. I always did that, even from day one. I just picked up the phone and started calling people that I knew, and it just seemed to work that way. But how I systematized it was a little bit different story because it was kind of hit or miss back in the day, and I did not have any systems for keeping in touch with my clients back then. But I went to family reunion in New Orleans in 2002 when I had first joined Keller Williams, and Brian Buffini, who is a business coach, did a half day at family reunion and explained about how you could run your business by referral instead of having to do cold calls and door knocking and floor time and all the kind of stuff that was being taught at the time. This is how you build your business. It resonated with me completely. And I said, you know what, as soon as I can afford this, I'm going to get him as my coach. So it took about 6 months because it was right after 9/11 and loans were not being closed because lenders were scared and everything was kind of on hold there for a few months right after 9/11 because we just didn't understand what was happening in our country. But when I could afford it, about 6 months later, I joined coaching. And I've been coaching with Brian ever since, except for a little sabbatical for about 18 months. And I stopped because my coach got downsized in the recession. And then it didn't take long for me to figure out I needed a coach. So I went back and have been back ever since. So how I run my business is that I systematically reach out to my database. And I do this in several ways. One of the things that I do, I get a box every month from my business coach, and they send us a little item of value. And then we add our own newsletter to it here, and we advertise our listings on the back. And that goes out pretty consistently every month. And I figure, you know, I'm not perfect. If I get 11 of them out a year, that's a success for me. So we kind of scaled back a little bit during COVID because I didn't think it was right to pound people when everything was so uncertain and everybody was at home and didn't know if they were going to have jobs. So we kind of held back for a couple of months there, but we're starting to go back and do it again. In addition to this, we have a e-report that is sent to us that we can send out 2 weeks after we send out our item of value, which talks about the same basic information, just in a different way. So that goes out 2 weeks later. So I'm touching my database via snail mail once a month, via email once a month. And then if there's anything that I need to send out in the meantime, I can go ahead and send that out to my database also because I've got it all set up as a system. The other thing that Brian teaches is that we reach out. Well, first of all, his premise is that you've got to show competence and you've got to show care, because people will work with you if you're competent, but they may not like you. And people will work with you if they like you, but they may not feel good about working with you because they don't understand that you know what you're doing. So it's a two-pronged approach so that we are sending items of value that display competence, which is like statistical data, information to keep a family safe during crisis times, that sort of thing. And then we send out every other month a feel-good kind of piece, so that we're building on two different fronts there, the competence and likability. And one of the ways that really brings the biggest return is to send personal notes. I love this one. I just think that's the cutest personal note. And those come in our packet every month, and we're supposed to send 50. And you think that'd be easy, but it isn't. It's hard to actually sit down and spend the time to get these notes out. But anytime I talk to anyone on the phone, anytime I meet with anyone, I try to follow up with a note, because it's such an unused art form now that when you get a personal note, you're kind of surprised. One of the other things that we do is something that we call pop buys. Now, some examples of pop buys that we do, this was popsicles. And it says, I wanted to pop by and thank you for all of your cool referrals. I try to take these to people either at their home or at work. And if they're not there, then I set them on the doorstep, take a picture, text it to them and say, sorry, I missed you, check your doorstep. Some of the other things that people have liked is tape measure. That one says, when you need an agent who really measures up to your expectations, give me a call and I'll go the distance.
I love that.
We have umbrellas. I'm here to protect your real estate investment and to ensure a smooth transaction. Bird houses to put together. That one is, if you, your friends, neighbors, or colleagues are in need of a place to roost, think of me. So these are something that I try to do. I keep them in my car all the time, because sometimes you're just ahead of schedule when you're going and doing something, and you know a client lives next door. You just run by and pop by. It's a thing where you leave your car running, you go knock on the door, you don't want to stay because they're not expecting company. You just want to pop by, leave it, talk to them, say hello, connect, and then leave. And then typically I'll send a card saying it was nice to see you, or I'm sorry I missed you, that sort of thing, because I'm supposed to use all my cards and try to get them out. So that's kind of what we do. The other prong that we have to build our community is we try to do some kind of client parties. And that could be as simple as sending someone out for lunch or coffee, or it can be bigger, like we've always done at Keller Williams. We've done our fall festival, and that's always been something that we're able to invite all of our database to leverage it, to have the opportunity to call several times before and after to actually speak with people if they don't get to come. And of course, we give away pumpkins. Before that, I have been dropping off pumpkins at people's houses, and then it became easier when we could do the pumpkins and they kind of get them instead of me taking them. The other big event that we have implemented the last 4 or 5 years, which has really worked well, is that we do a gratitude party the week of Thanksgiving, early in the week, where we have our clients come to the office and we give them pie. They get to choose between pumpkin, apple, or pecan. And it's just a way to say thank you, to give back. And what we find is that people really do come. Some will stay and talk for 2 hours, and some will come in, grab their pie, and they're back out the door in 30 seconds. But it doesn't matter, because it's
I love you call that a gratitude party. I've never heard that phrase before.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's always Pie Day, right?
It's gratitude, because
Pie
I am
Day
grateful.
talks about the what. Gratitude talks about the why.
The why. Yeah. It's just give back. So this year it's probably going to be a drive-through, because we just want to make sure that everybody stays safe, and we don't want anyone to feel like they would be put at any risk. That's kind of what I do. The one other thing that we yearly do is we do a calendar. We had an agent in the office whose daughter was an amazing artist in high school, so we got a lot of graphics from Delete, and we have used them in our calendar. These only go out to our best people that would actually use a calendar, which means typically older people. Young people will not use a calendar. So we kind of pick and choose what we do for whom, try to make it appropriate to their age. So I don't send the calendars to everybody, but there are people that will call me and thank me every year because they say they keep it up on their refrigerator all year long. So that's just a way to keep my name right front and center with them. And the other thing I wanted to share, which we have had an amazing return on investment, is we give these cutting boards. And I usually pop by about a week after closing, and it'll have, you got all different styles. It's Betsy's Kitchen. And in the bottom it says, I appreciate your trust in me, cheers, and my name. So that it's right there in their kitchen all the time if they want to display it or if they want to use it. They're very inexpensive for personalized items, and we have had a real good return on investment with that. Now, because we do so much repeat business, I have to go on and do something else for the next closing. So I kind of step it up each closing, but that's kind of the base piece that everybody gets, when we do a closing there. And that's about a week later when we're checking on them, if we don't actually take it to the closing like we're not doing right now.
How many people do you have in your database after all these years, Pam?
I mail to 220 or so, something like that. I don't mail to everybody because not every relationship is one that you want to nurture that much. And you kind of have to pick and choose which ones you want.
Wait. Can you explain that, please?
Well, you want to do business with people you like. And sometimes one will get under the radar and you end up having a transaction where you really just didn't enjoy working with that person. Well, they're not going to go into my client appreciation program because I really may not want their friends because their friends are probably going to be just like them. So
say that one more time. That is the mic drop of the day so far, guys.
Okay. You don't want to be in business with everybody because you don't enjoy everybody. And their friends that they might refer are probably going to be like them. So you just don't want everyone in your database, and you don't want to pour your money and your effort into relationships that you really don't enjoy the people you're working with. So it's a selectivity, but it's okay. And sometimes people come and then they leave because they never respond. But I learned a long time ago, there was one lady that I mailed to for 12 years, didn't get a word back, and she kind of dropped off the radar. And then 18 years after her transaction, her son called me and said, she's ready to move. And I had stopped mailing to her. So I went, okay, got to start doing that. And so then she moved last year at the end of the year and has referred me 3 people since who we've closed. And I almost lost her because I took her out of my database too soon. But they kept my phone number, which was a good thing. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your team. How did the team evolve? What has that done for you? Walk us through that.
It freed me up. I started with, I needed an assistant. I needed technology assistants. And my daughter-in-law at the time, before she was married to my son and graduated from college, there was going to be a year before they got married. He was off with the Navy. And so she needed a job for a year. And I needed technology assistance. And being a young person, she was very good at that. So it was a good way to get started because we knew it was going to end in a year. So if things didn't work out, it was okay because there was already an end date in sight. But it actually worked out great. She, very methodical. She set up my systems. She really got things systemized, made a big book, had everything in it that we did. And it was just all there for the next person that came along. So then after she left, the recession hit. So I didn't have an assistant for a while there. But then as we got busy again in 2012, 13, I said, I've got to get another assistant. And in the meantime, I'd used Robin T for my contract close all that time, but I just need an assistant to do the marketing and all the stuff that we have to do.
Right. So once you got the first taste of leverage, you never let it go completely.
No. Yeah. No, it frees you up totally and completely so that you'll have a life again.
No, like literally, I joke around. If my assistant could tie my shoe for me, I would let her. Like, I am totally cool about that.
Database. Right now, I mail to about 220, 225. That kind of goes up and down, but generally over 200. So my team, when it got busy again, I had a client I was working with. We had her under contract, and she lost her job during due diligence. So as we had looking at houses, she had always said, well, I'll always come to work for you if I didn't have a job. Well, then she calls me and said, I don't have a job. We need to get out of this contract. So I hired her because she asked, and I wasn't sure, I didn't go through all the KW stuff, but I knew we had a great relationship, and I've been doing pop-bys and everything for her for years. So she knew how I did business. So that was Stacy, and Stacy just celebrated 7 years with us. And that was the best move I ever made, was bringing her onto my team because she is fabulous.
You went a little fuzzy there for a second. So
I'm sorry.
So that was Stacy.
That was Stacy. So she's been with me 7 years. She came as admin to start with. And then she got her license after a while. It took her several years before she decided she wanted to do that. Now she has her license and she has a good business herself besides working with me. And it's all part of our team. Then I had a buyer's agent who was excellent. He left because he had some medical issues and moved out of state. But I still talk to him at least every other day. We still share ideas. We're friends left over from that. So at some point, I'll be replacing.
You're fuzzy a little bit.
Right now, Stacy and I are handling most of the business. And then I'm sorry.
You're just breaking up a little bit.
Cherokee. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I hate this. Can you hear me? Okay. Yep. So Tammy works kind of part-time with us, but she handles Cartersville and up that direction mainly. So she's part of the team, but she's not in the office all the time. It's mainly just me and Stacy right now. And, we talk 10 times every day, probably going back and forth.
Yeah.
So I will say, go ahead. Oh.
You're up. You go.
The biggest, most important point that I want to make today, because I think it's just incredibly important, is that I've done my business like this for many years. And I have been consistently doing the calls, the notes, the pop buys, the client parties, building the competency, but also building the care all these years. And life will throw you a curve sometimes, and we got one thrown at us. My husband was diagnosed with cancer in 2015, and I fought the good fight almost 3 years before he passed away at the beginning of 2018. And then I had his estate, and he's an only child, so I had his mom, and I had his business to shut down. I had a lot going on for the last 5 years, and I didn't work but about maybe 20 hours a week for most of that time, because I had other responsibilities that had to be done. And that's just all there was to it. We did lots of contracts from the hospital waiting room and from the chemotherapy. And we did lots of things like that. But, you do it. You just make it work for you. And what I saw, and Bill can probably give you numbers if you really want it, but I was able to maintain my numbers all the way up through the end of 18. And because for 5 years, I hadn't really done the calls that I should have, even though I was hitting them with the direct mails and the emails and the impersonal things that Stacy could do for me. Because I hadn't done the one-on-one calls, I started seeing my business go down a little bit in 2019. And it was from neglect. I know it was from neglect. But it was also that season of my life that I needed to do something else worse than I needed to talk to clients. So I kind of kept them hanging on. Lost a few during there, but not many. Honestly, I can probably count on one hand that the number of clients that I lost because I really did not engage them as I should have been engaging them. So last year's numbers were down some. They weren't bad, but they were not up to my normal standard. And this year, I finished out all the stuff I had to do as far as the estate and getting his mother taken care of. And she'll be 98 next week. And she's sweet and a challenge and great, but she can take some time. But we, locked back in beginning. It's going to be a great year for 2020. And then, of course, COVID happens. And what I found was it was not hard to stay in touch with my database, because the way I've been doing it all these years, I just upped my phone calls. I just upped my notes that I was sending out to people. I didn't do Popeyes for a while because nobody was sure about where the germs were and if it was airborne or whatever. So you didn't want to do anything touching, but you could do the contact, just the reaching out and asking people how they were doing and what do you need? What can I do to help you? And we've been really busy this year. I mean, we've been slammed. I've had great business, and it's every single bit referral or repeat business, complete 100% referral or repeat business.
And it's been that way for so long that you're pretty much going to do 20 to 25 units minimum every month, every year anyway.
Yeah, we're at 22 closed now, right? So far, that we got on contract. So I feel blessed in the midst of this pandemic, but it's
right. It's almost like you've been preparing for it forever.
Yeah.
The way you do business is naturally, it's like sometimes, I don't want to say like having a more of a personal touch has gone out of style, but it's definitely getting back in style.
It is getting back in style. I think people are hungry for personal touch.
Oh yeah. They're sitting in their houses alone, right?
Yep.
They're dying to talk to people.
Yep. So it's a good time to make those calls, and they're not hard calls. I still tend to procrastinate getting started. It's just me. But then once I'm started, then I don't stop till 10 o'clock that night. It's just I get on a roll. I'm perpetual and don't want to stop because.
Well, what I'm hearing is that doing, and we all heard this at Mega Camp, is doing the same activities day in and day out for 25 years is going to produce systematic and predictable results. And yes, there is most likely never going to be a day in either one of our lives where we wake up and don't have any like roadblock to accomplishing our goal, right?
Right.
You can have a morning where your head hurts, or a morning where you're tired, or a morning where there's something else that needs to get done. Yet we know that if you don't do the activities, you're going to see the results of that later.
It's the fundamentals. You cannot forget the fundamentals. You need to do the fundamentals well and consistently.
So there's no like magic box with like a magic script in it, right?
No, it's just talking to people. Talking to people, and when you're talking to people, when you go to say goodbye, they, oh, by the way, I'm never too busy for any of your referrals. Have a great day. And you just throw that little tagline in at the end. It's very non-confrontational. It's not something that they feel obligated, but they just know I'm going to say it because I've said it for so many years, and they just laugh, or they'll say it with me because they know I'm going to say it. I'm never too busy for any of your referrals.
Yeah. I love that line. It's like whenever I end my coaching call with my coach, she always says the same thing. Be great today, I think is exactly what it says.
Oh,
be great today. Right.
Yeah.
So like anytime I know our call's wrapping up, I know to expect that. And it almost becomes like, it's just something that, it creates our relationship, right?
It's just a little connection that's extra special.
Exactly. I love that. Walk me through, I haven't prepped you for this. So I'm going to take my chances here.
We're going cold.
We're going cold for a second. The group here is primarily made up of newer agents, right? Agents that are either launching their business or relaunching their business. Many of and I think Aubrey, is obviously sensitive to this as well. And so he's doing a class, and he's done a class like once a month for a couple months on teams, like starting a team, joining a team, these kind of things. I've been pretty candid with some positives and negatives of both choices. And I don't have a dog in the fight really. But can you just share your take on what are the benefits to teams in your opinion, and what are the drawbacks to teams in your opinion?
I think the benefits far outweigh the negatives. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. But the benefit that I see and that we present to our clients is that they don't have just one person that might go on vacation or might be tied up with kids or something else. They've got a team that they can come to. And Stacy and I are real funny about trying to meet each other's clients. Even if it's not somebody I'm working with, I will try to show up at least for one showing just to say hello, meet them. She does the same thing with me so that they know that there's another person out there that they can rely on. And I think that kind of gives people some comfort that, they're not out there by themselves. And, occasionally I'll have to just jump in. Like when my husband got sick at the very end, I was negotiating 4 or 5 contracts, and we had a whole bunch of listings, and Stacy and Kurt literally stepped in, finished the negotiations, and did everything. But because they had already met the people, there was a comfort level that they were willing to work with them, and they didn't feel like I had just pushed them aside, even though they ended up knowing what was going on, but they didn't know right in the midst of it, because none of us knew what was going on right in the midst of it. But right. That probably is the biggest thing, is that there's a team, there's some solidarity, and you're not going to get forgotten because there's always another person you can call.
I love that idea of you you and her both, the prospect or the client knows that they can rely on either one of you, even though one of you is really driving the show.
Yeah, we have one on each side, but the other person's back there. And we just try to make it a point to meet them at some point during the transaction. Even if it's just for 30 seconds, we show up when they're showing houses and just meet them, shake their hand or elbow bump or whatever you got to do right now, just so that they know that there's another person there. So that's
I'm trying to picture you elbow bumping somebody.
Negatives, I don't know. There's always, staying in touch with each other and having congruent ideas that you work your business the same way. And if you get personalities in there, sometimes you can sometimes start butting heads. But I don't know, Stacy and I've never really had that problem at all. I guess because I trained her how to do it. And I hear her on the phone talking. I'm going, that's like me talking. She's using the same phrasing. She's using all of that. But we kind of look at it together. And I think Stacy saw the benefit because she was in my database. And so I was taking her pop buys. I was doing the fun things and meeting her and with her kids and her husband. So she saw how it was a natural way to build a relationship. And Stacy's probably the best networker I have ever met in my life. She knows everybody. And if she doesn't know them, she will in 20 minutes because she'll call them up and she'll make a contact and find something about them that they can talk about, and she moves on.
I love that.
She's amazing.
What about for an agent that's trying to decide like what their path is? Like, do I join a team? Do I build a team? Do I, work by myself for a certain amount of time and try to figure it out? Like, do you have any feedback or thoughts on that?
Being a part of the team, you're going to have the team there to help you out and to
say that part one more time, please.
Being a part of the team, you're always going to have somebody there to help you out and to teach you right then and there in the moment when you need help. It's not like you'll have to call somebody in the office and wait for a phone call back. She can text me into a conversation and I can answer the question for someone if she doesn't know right that minute. So I think having somebody to mentor you when you're brand new is important, because you come out of real estate school knowing licensing tests, but you don't have any clue how to sell houses or how to lead generate. And that's what keeps you in business, is your lead generation. So I think you have to have the training. And I think Keller Williams is awesome on our training. There's nobody even close to the Keller Williams training, but sometimes you need a close relationship, a mentor. I think that's just helpful. And it gives you confidence because you've got somebody there at your fingertips that you can go to immediately to get information if you don't know.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Is there a specific amount of time that you should wait before selecting to join a team? I'm a new agent and I want to, I guess the vision that I saw for myself with real estate was pretty much me branding my own name. And do you feel as if joining a team too early can possibly take away from kind of like that knowledge and everything else that you can learn individually before collectively coming together? Or did you just kind of like jump all in? Like,
it took me a long time.
Remember, we're on till 1 o'clock, Pam. I know we could both talk about this for an hour or 10 hours, right?
Yeah, I was a single agent for a long, long time because we didn't have anything except single agents back when I started. There were no teams, so we didn't have any choices back then. I think it was just kind of a natural progression for me because I had more leads than I could handle myself. So that's why I moved towards getting a team, and it just gave me more freedom to create more leads to hire someone else. So it kind of builds on itself. I purposefully did not name my team with my name because I wanted to, at some point, if I built a good business, be able to sell it at the end of the day when I retired. So I chose Red Team Realty because Keller Williams colors are red and because I have red hair, and that just seemed like a good name at the time. And I just came up with something that wasn't our founder. I wanted it to be that way because I felt like that way it would be an easier transition when I did decide to get out of the business. So
Right.
I sell my business by having people pay me referrals for a certain amount of time for me giving them their database, my database, and bridging that gap with my clients that this is who's going to be taking over my business. So I made that choice a while back. That was a Keller Williams idea back when I first came, when I was setting everything up. And I think probably it was good. I don't have a big ego. It doesn't have to be my name. As long as I'm selling houses and my clients are happy and they're referring me, they don't really care what the name of your business is because they're talking to you, an individual. And I guess,
Right.
yeah.
You know, I think I have somewhat of a fairly strong opinion about the matter.
Oh, good. We're listening.
I think that, like, the vast majority, I don't want to sound like I'm anti-team here by any stretch of the imagination. But I'll tell you that I think that you should come in, and if you had a desire to be an entrepreneur and to create it yourself, then that's basically the play that you should run, and go make people know who you are. And then the best teams will come to you and give you a pitch. And at that moment, you can decide what makes the most sense here. Yeah. Right? Don't go join the first team that reaches out to you. You know, you want to first of all, the teams are going to expect you to have some confidence and experience and know your presentations and know your scripts and know how to deal with contracts and all that. There's a baseline knowledge that team's going to expect you to have, right? But you're going to have a lot more leverage to get a better package or get a better team or have better opportunity if you're the one that they're approaching, right?
I would say that's very true.
Like when I walked into the Ignite room and I said, who's the smartest person here? If I had gone to the smartest person, which I did, you know, I would have less leverage. I say, well, here's what I want you to do. And she's like, well, I'm the smartest person in here, so I'm going to make the rules to some degree, right? But if I said, who's the dumbest person in here, right, that wouldn't have been helpful for anybody. So you go be the smartest person in the room, right? And then when the team owner comes to me and said, hey, who's rocking it? I say, well, here's the person that's rocking it. Here's the person who spends time committed to their business. They're turning in their numbers. Hint, hint. They are, you know, going on lots of appointments. They're having fun. They're doing the right thing, right? They love making an impact in the community, right? That's when you're really going to have the leverage to join the best team out there if ultimately that's the direction you want to go.
I like that, Bill.
You know, make it impossible for them to not know who you are. Right. So that would be my advice to you publicly, Ebony, is go clobber it, and then all the teams will know who you are. And if you ultimately decide to join a team, you can handpick the one you want.
Or then you create your own.
Exactly.
Whatever people's personalities are different, and some people like that. Some people don't want to be on a team. So it's a personality thing also.
100%. 100%. What other questions do you guys have? What's next for you, Pam? Like, how much longer do you want to sell? What's your plan for the next 10, 15, 20 years? What should we expect from you?
I'm not going anyplace right now. I have a 97-year-old mother-in-law and a 92-year-old mother that I can't be too far away from because that's life, and we want to do the right thing with our families, and so I can't be away from them. So I have no intention of going anywhere for the next few years until that's not a responsibility anymore. At some point, my vision is to go get my license in Alabama and to start doing some work on the coast down there. I have a friend that's doing that now. I've been talking to her. She loves it and she's pulling it off. And that's something I would like to do, but that's not even this year. That's probably 2 years out before I even think about it. I also want to, get into that market down there. I want to buy an investment property that I can cash flow and still have a place to go at the beach. And I think Alabama right now is a better value than Florida. But of course, I want to wait till the market dips, and that's when I want to buy down there. So eventually, I could see myself living at the coast, but it's going to be a slower transition. It's not going to be just get up and go. It's going to be something that I transition into and make sure that I can turn my business, my database that I've nurtured for 20 years, that I can turn my database over to somebody that I can trust, and then set up a series of referral percentages so that as I get out of the practice and start not talking to my people as much, I can introduce them to whoever I'm turning my business over to. And then as time passes, the referral fees get smaller and smaller until eventually, they've got it. And I'm done.
Have you read the book, The Golden Handoff?
A long time ago. I probably need to read it again before I start.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Again, it's not right now. So.
Right. One thing I've heard you say is that you understand the commitment to daily activity, right? You have an action-based business. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
Yet sometimes we run into action, yet we forget to do some strategy and some vision and some goal setting. And I've always noticed that you're, and certainly here today, that you are very much a thinker, right? You are not taking action without a lot of thought. You're not taking every action you take is strategic.
That's that Georgia Tech thing. I'm a numbers person. I can't help.
Awesome. Who else has a comment or a question for Pam? You got a top producer here who doesn't like making cold calls.
I don't make cold calls.
Let's pick her brain.
The first 2 times I took bold where Denise said I had to call for sale by owners, it was painful, painful. And I did it. And that whole bold, I got 1 transaction from calling people I didn't know. And I said, you know what? I'm going to call my database. I get more if I call my database. Now, I did leverage that 1 into 3 or 4 different transactions, which is what you're supposed to do. Once you get a good customer, you leverage it. You get them to refer you.
So investing in education worked.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
You
have to be making yourself better all along. You can't coast because there's too many new people out there that are technology oriented and they're highly driven and they're going to take your business away from you if you let them. You don't give them an ear.
That's right. They say your clients are the prospects of your competitors.
Yes. And you can't forget that.
That's right.
And it's easier to keep a client than get a new one. We know
it's a hell of a lot easier to keep a client than get a new one.
Keep your people happy.
Right. Michael, did you want to add something?
Yes, I want to be sure y'all had a chance to complete that great conversation. So thank you so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate it.
I love Keller Williams Learning Base. It's just, it's amazing to me.
The culture is just like really awesome. So I'm Michael. This is Marinelli, and we'll be married for 23 years here in the next few days. So
congratulations.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, guys. So real quick, we're trying to I guess in a way, do like a rebuild of our business. I was like a part-time agent, if you will, working in the corporate world, and Marinelli, between being a super mom and other things, we're just trying to rebuild now, our book of business, and we're trying to identify the right kind of person that can be there for being an administrator in terms of helping open doors or helping do administrative tasks and duties, and maybe groom as well, to be a long-term member of the team, to be a buyer's agent. So what would you recommend to us in terms of the kind of person or that you would think would make that kind of hire? What would you recommend?
Bill can probably answer that a whole lot better than I.
I'd like to respond to that.
Okay. Jump in, Bill.
Pam, go
that's a
ahead.
Bill
You go
one,
first.
another hard one.
We can call it what's the daily double here. He's like,
Yes.
The
yeah.
daily
Ooh,
double.
me.
Woo, woo, woo.
Well, I'll make a little plug for Gene Rivers' Career Visioning. Right.
Yes,
That's
done that.
October the 16th,
Yep.
all day. It's
We booked
free.
it.
It's normally a few $100s. It's going to be free.
Yep.
Do
you know,
that.
I can't remind you guys enough that you basically just described like 3 different personality profiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right.
This profile.
The type of person who would love being the administrator, the type of person who would love being the runner, basically, and then the person who would love being the buyer's agent, right? So
Those are different traits.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example.
Totally
Let's say Pam is on my team or is considering joining my team. And I say, Pam, here's your job. This is your job on the team. Okay. These are the 8 homes I want you to show this buyer this Saturday. And I want you to make small talk with them throughout the day. And Pam says, oh my gosh, that sounds like the most fun job ever. This is going to be so exciting. Right. And right before she gets in the car to go, I said, Pam, actually, we changed our mind. I need you to sit behind the computer all day and sort through these contracts and make sure that all the deadlines match up. And she's like, I quit. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Right. And the point
There's some truth in that.
Right.
I used to review all the contracts in the office. I know there's some truth in that. Absolutely.
Right. And the thing is the more you like one of those jobs, more than likely, the less you would like the other.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no judgment. It's not like this person's a better person than this person. It's just they have natural tendencies that are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, to be truthful, Stacy is a very small, like incredibly small percentage of the time that transition works, right?
Yeah.
And
we're so blessed. We are so blessed.
Pam has been able to pull that off. But very rarely do they do that.
People too, Bill. Remember, I've had to fire a couple of people that didn't work so well. I didn't mention them, but there were matches that were not made in heaven that had to end.
Right. And so
do it quicker instead of letting it linger. When you find that you're not going to be a match with somebody, instead of being nice and trying to drag it out, you need to go ahead and cut the cord, because it's just going to cost both of you angst and it's going to cost you money to keep them on.
Right.
When you know that they're not a good fit.
And when you're allowing them to interact with the people that you worked hard to earn, then you're taking on risk that could be quite financially detrimental, right? I would just say, first of all, go to the class, go to Gene Rivers' class, and you'll have a whole new appreciation for how to grow an organization. That's the first step. And the second step is, make sure that you're hiring somebody for the right reasons, and make sure that you are also becoming a leader that you would want to hang out with, essentially, right? Like we've said before, Pam hired, and when I grew because we had more leads than I could handle. Right. And maintain the quality of life that we were both seeking. Right. So then the question is when I want to bring somebody into my world and say, hey, would you like to be a part of my world and hang out with me all day? If they're super talented and they come into your world, and obviously this isn't the case with you, but if they come into the world and they're like, you're not really that good of a leader. Right. Then they're not going to hang out. Right. They're going to go work somewhere different. And so your job and all of our jobs is, as we're learning our skill and developing more prospects and a bigger database and growing this thing, don't forget to grow your leadership too. Right.
Yeah, you need to be constantly working on that, reading books and watching podcasts. You got to go out and proactively do that, because you're never going to find time to do it unless you schedule it into your day. I do a lot of it when I'm out walking or when I'm driving in the car. I've got podcasts going and I've got that sort of thing going, because I got to grow. If my team's going to grow, I got to grow.
Oh man, they're just like
to the extent that you grow yourself, your business will follow. always. So you got to always be trying to see what's coming up, what you need to be dealing with, and best ways to do it.
That vaguely sounds like a bold law, Pam.
Does it really? Hello.
All right. Who else has a thought or a comment?
Are there agents that transition from being on a team and then kind of went back to doing their own thing? Like as far as, because I like teams, but well, I'm learning. But what happens when you kind of want your name to be at that, you want your name to be at the front? Like, you know, we all got into this to kind of work for ourselves, or I'll speak for myself, you know, to work for yourself. So what happens if, you know, you're a new agent, you start, you go on a team, it's great, you know, you're building up their clientele, but how do you transition that to doing your own thing and giving you the same success that you had while you were on their team, if that makes sense?
I think you watch and learn, but I think it's a personality thing too. I mean, people that are high Ds, they're not going to work for somebody that's a C. They're just not going to. It's not a good match. They're going to move on to where they need to be. So I think a lot of it's just your personality traits and what you want, and you just have to make it right for you. I would say, you know, take the advantage of being able to learn a lot on a team on how to run the business, the basics, what you got to do every day to make the deals happen. Learn how to do all this. Take advantage of the classes at KW. But at some point, you're going to feel like you're strong enough and you're knowledgeable enough that you can do it without having the team there to support you. And once you feel like that, that would be the time I would think that you would say, okay, I'm going to do it myself. But
it's like you almost have like
into at that point leverage, because you don't want to be, if you're a high D, you're a person that goes out and sells, you're going to hate paperwork. So you need to get someone in that does the paperwork so that you can do what you do better.
Right. And like we have an example, our rookie of the year last year, Kim Wims, was on the curtain team. She's no longer in the curtain team, and she's going to make $250,000 this year in her second year in real estate. Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, and we've got numerous examples of that. What's happening is there's kind of two competing things going on here. So one thing is that the team spots you as super talent, and the team looks around and says, how are we going to keep this one? Right. And so they go and sharpen their skills and offer more opportunity and, you know, figure out what that particular person wants. Because they, just like that person saying, oh my gosh, I'm crushing it. Do I need the team? The team's sitting here saying, how do we keep this one? Right. And so everyone's trying to make themselves better. Right. I mean, you got somebody like Ginny Mosier, who's now the director of sales with the Peters Company. Right. You think she knows how to sell homes? I think so. You think she can go build the Ginny Mosier team anytime she wants? Yeah. The thing is she has a personality that meshes really well with Andy and Leslie and the rest of the team, and all the things that she's desiring, she's able to get within that organization. So she's probably not thinking so much about going and starting her own thing. And again, there's no right or wrong path.
No,
right?
There's no right or wrong.
Right. But if but I'll make one point very clear, and Andy's very aware of this. If Andy and Leslie do not continue to give that woman the opportunity she's seeking, they will lose her. End of story. And there will be 30,000 agents that are looking to pick her up. You see what I'm saying?
If she wants to be picked up.
Exactly. And by the way, that you can look at that from a slightly different angle, which is, you know, if you're really good at what you do and you have the appropriate amount of integrity, then, you know, who wouldn't want to get into business with you? So then you have to say to yourself, well, is Keller Williams delivering on the value proposition that they promised? Or could I get a better value proposition elsewhere? Right? And believe me, every single day, the decision makers at Keller Williams are having that conversation to say, hey, I mean, you heard it yesterday. Is there an organization out there that could put us out of business? And before somebody creates it and puts us out of business, we're going to turn into that company. Make sense?
Makes sense. Good answer, Bill.
So, sorry, you've asked a couple of questions I have a bit of passion around. Sorry, we've been
No,
even on
that's
this.
what we like. When you're passionate about something, it shows, and then people are drawn to you. It's the law of attraction.
Yes.
If you like what you're doing, you're passionate about it, people want to do it with you.
What else would you, what other advice do you have for the group, Pam? First of all, I'm super grateful for your time.
You're welcome.
And Pam had a last minute client emergency last week, and so she couldn't be with us, but thank you very much for getting right back with me and rescheduling and coming to join us today. You know, we've just been poured into left and right this week, and I'm just grateful to be a part of this, and grateful for you today. If you were to give some advice to a newer agent or a relaunching agent that they might just need to hear the same message from a different mouth, what would you say?
Well, that's a tough one. When my husband was diagnosed with cancer, I'm a coach at the, and he didn't quite know what I was going through. So they actually made a switch and gave me to a coach there who had survived stage 4 brain cancer. And I knew her slightly. I had spoken with her once at one event, and they moved me over to her because they felt like that might be a better match for me. And she was able to help me balance during all of that, because I was harder on myself sometimes than she was hard on me. And other times she would, you know, bust my chops because I didn't do what I could have done and just chose not to. So she points out to me, and she did this week again, that it's a balancing. It's not a balance. It is a constant thing where you are making little shifts here and there to keep your life, your personal life, your family, all those other circles in your life besides business. You got to keep those going. You got plates in the air spinning. You got to keep those, but you got to have the business to fund what you want for your family. So it's a balancing act, and it's going to be different from day to day, but you just have to keep thinking, how do I do it all? But I can't do it all at one time.
Say that last line again. How do I do it all, yet not all at one time? Is that what you said?
Not all at one time. Yeah. And you just got to figure out what's important for you. And it may be that you do 3 transactions less this year, but you get to go to your son's ball games, you know? And that's a choice that you make, because your family's not going to be here forever. Kids are going to grow up. They're going to be gone, and you're going to be left with an empty house, and then you can do lots of transactions. And that may be okay. Just prioritize and understand that there's no wrong answer for anybody. And it's just a matter of balancing every day, your time, your energy.
And it's going to change. Like you said, you know, when your
yeah.
husband was sick, your priority became, not that it wasn't your husband before, but it was a much more of a significant change, a shift, right?
Yeah. 2 or 3 days in the hospital every week. It was different than our life had ever been all those years. So it was just different.
That's right. And that all boils down to having the clarity around why you're here in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. It's quite clear that Pam loves surprising and delighting people, right? It's quite clear that Pam loves sitting at closing tables with people building wealth and selling homes and buying homes, right? Yeah, I mean, I could go on for a long time. Anyone else want to add anything to close this out? Thank you so much, Pam. This has been wonderful. Wait, Ebony, did you have something?
I was just saying thank you. It was a lot of great advice.
You're so welcome.
I'm processing.
And, you know, if you have anything that you want to just chat about, I'm happy to talk to you, you know?
Thank you, I do.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm happy to do. People talk to me when I was asking questions, so I'm happy to do that too.
Okay.
There you go.
Lean on your peers.
You.
They're the best source of how you do your business is your peers.
There you go. That's what we're working to create here. I mean, we're continue to build here is we're all experiencing the same stuff, right? We all have awesome highs and low lows and grouchy clients and great days and poor days. And, you know, we have each other, right? And if you don't like, you know, that type of environment, you're probably not going to like KW much.
Right. Because we're like a family. We really are like a family. That's why they call it family reunion, because it's not like other companies out there where people don't share. We share things. We share ideas, because if we make all of us better, then we all benefit from that. So why not share? Why not help everybody raise the bar, raise the level?
I mean, literally, it almost felt like a team meeting at your husband's, ceremony, right?
Thank
Like,
you.
I mean,
Thank
there were that many people from the office there because,
Yes.
we were family, and we were all a part of that experience. Thanks so much, ma'am. Thank you. All right, guys. Well,
Thanks for having me. Anybody's
My
welcome to
pleasure.
give me a call if you have questions. I'm happy to talk with anybody at any time. Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank
All right, I'm
you.
going to hit stop on the recorder for a second.